Hey everybody, Alan here, and in this video, I want to show you how to use the website audit section of the GMB auditing tool. We're going to continue working with this listing here, the one that we've been working with throughout the tutorial. And we'll just start at the top of our checklist here. So it's asking for URL cannibalization. So let's head on over to the website. I've got all the pages of the website open already. And we'll just take a look at some of the URLs. And what we're looking for in URL cannibalization are URLs between pages that are very, very similar or even identical in most ways. Maybe there's, it says practice area instead of areas or something like that. So an example of cannibalization might be like, we've got this page here. The URL is Wills Trusts Estate Planning. But let's say we had a second page that just said trusts and estate planning. So we've got two pages. One says wills-trusts-estate-planning, and one says trusts-estate-planning. Those two pages could cause URL cannibalization. They're very, very similar. They contain the same keywords roughly. And that would present a problem. I've been through the entire site. There's only a handful of pages here, so we got news. No cannibalization is going to be a problem on this site. It is very, very small, and it's really unusual to find URL cannibalization on a site so small. But on much larger sites, that's going to become far more important. So we'll leave that unchecked because the cannibalization does not exist. And we'll just make a quick note. I like to make notes even if I don't find anything or there's nothing really to say, because this way, when the client looks at it or when the technician that's going to implement all the fixes comes and looks at it, they know that I didn't miss this or forget to do this or just outright skip it. They know I looked at it and there was nothing there, so they don't have to worry about it. So the next question, is this a single location or a multi-location business? This is a single location. If it were multi-location, we'd have some additional considerations, but we don't have that in this site, so that's good. So URL structure, okay, is the website's URL structure optimal or at least acceptable? Looking at the URLs, I think there's some room for improvement here. There's nothing wrong with the URL. They're not bad URLs. They just could be better. So we'll go ahead and say that the URL structure is acceptable. But I'm going to make a note that I think it could be improved. So that way, the technician, or if I'm the one that's going to come in and do this, work on the site later, then I'll have my note here. Service page healthy. Does the service page strategy of the site seem satisfactory? So let's find the service page. It's in this case going to be the practice areas page. It does have personal injury, our areas of practice on it, an image. The content's really thin, so it probably needs additional content. Let's see, this links out to Will's Trust Estate Planning, as it should. Personal injury links out to, so if we click on the personal injury link, it goes to family law. So that's definitely a problem there, and something that's definitely going to need to be fixed. Because that anchor text doesn't match the page that it's going to. So service page is not healthy. I'm going to leave it unchecked, and we'll just make some notes here. So we'll say content is very thin, and the personal injury so those are going to be our biggest problems, and I'm sure whoever comes in and looks at this page afterwards is going to find the images and things like that. So meta title healthy. Does the website title pass competitive health checks? So our title is Law Office of Rafai Arifin LLC, East Berlin, Connecticut. I hope I pronounced that name right. If I didn't, I apologize. But looking at the competitors, I went ahead and pulled some competitors already. I looked for websites that were outranking this example site that we're using, and that practiced similar things. This Berlin Law Offices seems to be practicing a little bit of all kinds of law. So let's have a look at their meta title. Their meta title, Berlin Law Offices LLC. So we got the brand just like ours. Berlin Law Offices LLC. They've got the brand twice, and then they've got, it cuts off a little bit. It's a little too long, so we'll use SEO Meta and one click to see the full title. They've got all their keywords. They've got a bunch of different locations in there. and then all of their practice areas. So we've got our location and our brand. So that's pretty similar. Let's have a look at the next one. Their title is too long again for our little preview. So we'll use SEO Meta in one click to see what it looks like. Their title, Connecticut Estate Planning Lawyer. So they've got their keyword or their top level category and the state. Hartford Probate Attorney, so a little LSI with their location. Simsbury and South Windsor Wills and Medicaid Lawyer. And then their brand. So brand we've got, location we've got, at least the one location that we service. They service multiple, but they've got keywords as well. So that's the 2 sites using keywords, and we're not. Let's go ahead and take a look at this one. 8 Law Partners, business attorneys, Connecticut. So again, keyword, brand keywords. So we've got brand and location like everyone else, but we don't have keywords. We'll just make a note. There we go. H1. So let's have a look at our H1 here. Our H1 is virtually exactly the same as our title, except for our title has home in it, which I'm not a big fan of. That's space better used by keywords or something else, but that's okay. We're not talking about that right now. We're looking at the H1. So we've got brand and location. So we'll keep that in mind. Let's have a look at this guy and see what his H1 looks like. We'll just look at headers real quick. He doesn't actually have an H1, so he's not using one at all. Let's see. Here we've got, what's his H1? Another one not using any H1s. Looks like they're not really doing anything with their H2s either, which we'll be looking at next. So we'll just keep that in mind. And our H1 here, okay, this guy's using a bunch of stuff. Okay, Connecticut business lawyers. So he's got his keyword in there again with the location. So compared to, and then H2 practice areas, his H3 contains LSI, H2 client reviews, recent news, get our book. Okay, so that's for the next section. We'll just keep that stuff in mind since we're already there looking at. So H1, one competitor uses keywords in the H1 and we do not. So I'm not going to call that healthy. This guy outranks us, outranks our example site here. So, maybe using keywords in the H1 is why, or part of why rather. So H2 healthy. Our H2s, if we look at SEO Meta in one click, our H2s are being used, headers are being used as styling on this site. We see this a lot actually, where people just use H2 to make something bold or change the font as opposed to using it as the SEO elements that they should be used as. So we see this a lot. This isn't uncommon. But the H2s, everyone else except for 8 Law Partners is using their H2s much. Actually, he's using his H2s as styling as well. So, I mean, looking at competitors, I hesitate to say that it's healthy because it could definitely be improved upon. But, from a competitive analysis standpoint, it is healthy. So, but I'm going to make a note anyways, because I still think that these H2s could be improved. Okay, header structure exists. We know we've only got H1 and H2 on here. There's no H3. They're not using keywords, no H4s, anything like that. So there's no header structure. Main elements contain variations. So the main elements, I heard these called three kings one time, the title, the URL, and the H1, and I've been calling it the three kings ever since. Helps me to remember which ones they are. So I'm not sure who I heard that from. If you're the person I heard that from, thank you. I've been using it for a couple of years now, and it's become part of my vernacular. So we're looking at the title, and the title and the H1, we talked about this a second ago, actually match except for the word home. And then the URL is just Rarefin Law, probably a brand or maybe the closest he could get to his name or something like that. But there are some, I mean, law office in both, but they don't really contain variations. I mean, target keywords would be like estate planning, personal injury, criminal law. So, law office doesn't really match that. So variations are not used. Actually, keywords are not used at all. So we'll just make a note of that. Images optimized. We looked at the image on that other page. We could probably guess that it's going to be the same on this page as well. So images, let's just have a look to be sure. Yep. Emotion header, logo, emotion header, cache, printer, one-on-one Ionos, logo. No alts, no titles. None of that's been optimized. So we're going to leave that and make a note. Services GMB categories in H3 bullets. We do have bullets. If they turn these into H3s, then it'd be a little closer. Still, we'd want these. We'd want it to match GMB categories. So as opposed to criminal law, we would put criminal attorney, I think is the actual category there. And then there's estate planning attorney, personal injury attorney. So we would actually turn those, instead of just personal injury and accidents, it would be personal injury attorney, and so on. So no H3s exist on the page. So we'll just make a note of that. And we're focusing all of this again on the page that is connected to the GMB. So in this case, it's the home page. We don't necessarily need to look at every single page on the website, which becomes pretty prohibitive on the larger sites. So we're just really focused here on, on some of these headers and images and stuff. We're really just focused on the page connected to the GMB listing. So H3 city keyword region exists. We know it doesn't. We don't have H3s at all, so it couldn't. Local content exists. We do have one page that has a map embed, and it briefly mentions a couple of highways that run through the town. However, this isn't really local content. Local content would talk more about East Berlin, maybe its date of incorporation and population and things like that. And then maybe it would talk about the, niche relevant stuff like the courthouse or something like that. So local content does not exist on this site. And the map embed doesn't really count in this case. Driving directions do not exist as well. This is not a service area business. So service area business would be like a plumber or handyman, somebody that comes to you and you never go to them. This is not a service area business, so we should have driving directions from various points, maybe landmarks in the courthouse in downtown and things like that. That doesn't exist anywhere on the site, so we'll leave that blank. And then links to top level sites. I've been through every page on this site, and there's really nothing that connects to top level sites. And top level sites in this case would be review platforms, major citations, so like Facebook, Twitter, Yelp. This is a lawyer, so Nolo, lawyer.com, Martindale, Hubble, things like that. So no links to those. So we'll just make a note. Map embedded. So we do have the map embed, but it's not on the page that is linked to from the GMB listing. So we're going to leave that blank because we want the website page that the listing is linking to have the map embedded, and it doesn't in this case. NAP. NAP is actually on every single page. It's in this left-hand side over here. So there's the NAP, and that left column there is on every page of the website. So NAP is going to be on every page. We can go ahead and make a note of that. There we go. Search Console highlighted NAP. So the data highlighter and Search Console, we don't actually have access to Search Console in this case. So we're going to leave that blank. We can't look at it, and I don't want to say that it's there when it isn't. I would rather somebody come in and double check it later when we do have access to Search Console. But in this case, we don't. So JSON LD installed. So I ran this through Google Schema Checker and got an error. The page cannot be reached because the page is unavailable or blocked by robots.txt. So that's actually going to be a big problem that needs to be solved. That we know the page is available, and that it was Google's Googlebot smartphone was the user agent that tried to crawl. So it may be blocked by robots.txt. So maybe the page got indexed and then was blocked later. For some reason, maybe WordPress created some sort of rule or something like that. I'm not sure why it would be blocked now, but that could be the problem there. So instead, what I did is I pulled up the view page source, and if you just right click on the page and then view page source, you can get the page source. And then I'll just Control F or Command F if you're on a Mac, and look for JSON. So no results. Let's look for schema, no results. So there's no schema, no JSON installed. So perfect. Entity page. So the entity page is going to be an About Us page. It talks about the entity. This one would likely have or should have a map embed as well as links to top level sites. It should talk about the law office, maybe have pictures of people, working. There is one photo here. It's a stock photo of some books on a shelf. So that's not really a photo that that we would want to use necessarily. I mean, using it it's not helping us, probably not hurting us, but it's not helping it either. So, pictures of the lawyers, things like this. So the entity page does exist, although it definitely needs improvement, but it is there. Internal linking, Google Analytics. So if we had access to Google Analytics, which we don't at this time, we would look at which pages have the most traffic, and then we could use those to internally link to pages that we wanted to rank to, but we don't have access to GA this time. So we'll just make a note of that, and if access is gained later, then we could come back and take a look at that. Again, this is just an example site though. This isn't an actual client or anything like that, so we'll never end up getting access to Google Analytics. But SiteLiner, really cool site. I like SiteLiner a lot. If you've never used it before, definitely check it out. This is a really small site, but I did go ahead and run it, so we didn't have to sit here and wait for it to do its crawl and finish. And then you just go to the Your Pages tab here on the left, and I always sort by page power so I can see the most powerful and the weakest pages. So the resources page is our most powerful page based on internal linking. So most of the internal links go to the resources page, which is unusual. This isn't a ranking page. And the two pages we would want to rank, or two of the pages we would want to rank, are the weakest on the site pretty significantly. So definitely room for improvement in the internal linking there. So, but we'll just make a note. Are the weakest, if I could spell weakest, the resources page. So there we go. Internal linking search. Again, we don't have access to analytics or GSC, so no GSC access at this time. And then, if we were to get it later, we could come back and take a look at it. So we'll just make that note for now. Internal linking notes. There doesn't appear to be an internal linking strategy in play here, so. And so the website audit, so we'll just kind of summarize our findings. We go. So in this case, they really only passed a couple of things. So we're just going to call this one a fail. If it was 50-50, then maybe I'd say needs improvement. And if they pass most of the stuff, then I'd say good. but in this case, they failed most of our checks. So this is definitely a fail. So we'll go ahead and check that off so that people know that we've been through it and that the website audit has been completed, and it'll get added to the report that can get sent to the client later. But we've completed this section. We'll look at other sections in future videos. But in the meantime, I hope this video has helped, and we'll see you in the next one.